Artificial intelligence has been around since 1956, but most people think it started with ChatGPT. Today, we're exploring how the longest running field in computer science became the hottest topic of 2024.
That's such an interesting point about the timeline. Most people don't realize we've been working on AI for nearly 7 decades now.
Well, you know what's fascinating? Those early pioneers at Dartmouth College had this incredible vision of creating machines that could truly think. They started with basic logic puzzles, but they quickly discovered just how complex human intelligence really is.
Hmm. Speaking of complexity, how would you explain the difference between AI, machine learning, and deep learning? Because I see these terms getting mixed up constantly.
Oh, that's exactly what drives me crazy. It's like calling every four-wheeled vehicle a sports car. Let me break it down. AI is the big umbrella term for any system that can perform tasks requiring human like intelligence.
So, what makes machine learning different then?
Well, machine learning is like AI 2.0. Instead of programming every single rule, we let the system learn from data. Think about teaching a computer to recognize cats. The old way meant programming rules like cats have pointy ears, whiskers, four legs. But what about when the cat is sleeping? Or those weird hairless cats?
That would be nearly impossible to program every variation.
Exactly. With machine learning, you just show the system thousands of pictures labeled cat and not cat, and it figures out the patterns itself. It might even pick up on subtle features we humans wouldn't think to program.
You know what's really interesting about that? Netflix uses machine learning for their recommendations, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, Netflix is the perfect example. Their system learns from everything. What you watch, when you watch, what you skip, what similar users enjoy. There are so many patterns that would be impossible to program as explicit rules.
And then we have deep learning, which seems to be behind all these amazing AI breakthroughs lately.
Right. Deep learning is like machine learning on steroids. It uses these layered neural networks inspired by the human brain. Each layer learns increasingly complex features, building on what previous layers discovered.
Could you give our listeners a concrete example of how that works?
Think about how you recognize faces. First, you notice basic shapes and edges. Then your brain combines those to identify features like eyes and noses. Finally, you put it all together to recognize whole faces. Deep learning works in similar layers, each one building on the previous.
That explains why deep learning needs so much computing power and data.
Exactly. And here's something fascinating. We couldn't do deep learning effectively until recently because we needed three things to come together: massive amounts of data from the internet, powerful specialized computer chips called GPS, and better training techniques.
So that's why I seems to have suddenly gotten so much better in recent years.
Well, yes, but here's the thing. Not everything needs deep learning. Sometimes simpler approaches work better, especially when you don't have much data or need the system to explain its decisions clearly.
That raises an interesting point about privacy and ethics, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. When companies say they're using deep learning for facial recognition, that means they needed massive amounts of training data. So we have to ask, where did that data come from? Did people consent to their photos being used? These are crucial questions we need to be asking.
You know, I think we should talk about some real world applications where different types of AI work together.
like self-driving cars. They use deep learning for vision tasks, other types of machine learning for prediction, and even some rule-based AI for safety protocols. It's really a combination of approaches working together.
That makes me wonder about the future of AI. Where do you see this technology heading?
Well, I think we're going to see even more sophisticated combinations of these different approaches. But what's really important is understanding enough about these distinctions to evaluate claims and implications critically.
So, what's your advice for our listeners who want to stay informed about AI developments?
First, remember that AI is the broadest term, anything that mimics human intelligence. Machine learning is a subset that learns from data, and deep learning is a sophisticated type of machine learning using neural networks. Understanding these basics helps you see through the hype and ask better questions.
And it helps you understand what's actually possible with current technology versus what's still science fiction.
Exactly. And you know what? It's okay to be skeptical when companies claim they're using AI for everything. Ask what kind of AI they're using and why that approach makes sense for their specific problem.
That's such valuable advice for navigating all the AI headlines we see these days.
Speaking of headlines, here's something to think about. The next time you read about an AI breakthrough, ask yourself whether it's using rule based AI, machine learning, or deep learning. Those details matter for understanding both the capabilities and the limitations of what's possible.
Well, this has been an incredibly enlightening discussion about the different flavors of AI.
You know what I love most about this topic? Understanding these distinctions doesn't just make us more informed. It helps us ask better questions about how these technologies are being used and what impact they'll have on society. That's what really matters in the end.